Are you happy, Charlie? Are you happy with the sound level? Okay. All right, we're going to get started. I want to thank everyone for coming. This is actually better than the old microphone. This is amazing. Okay. All right, Nathan, are you ready? Great. Okay. My name is Richard. This is my good friend Nathan. Say hi, Nathan. I want to thank you all for your patience. The head of maintenance called in sick today, so our usual 1:30 sound check turned into 1:55. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so before we go into the tunnel, Nathan and I thought that we would just give you a little talk with some photos about what the subway terminal tunnel used to be before it became an underground terminal, when it was an above-ground terminal, and the fate of the subway terminal through about the late 1980s. Okay, and we're going to tell you about some upcoming events too. So, Nathan, why don't you come up here and I'm going to let you say hello to everyone, and then we'll get started. So, everyone, this is Nathan Marsak.
How do you do? We're going to talk a little bit about we're going to go to the tunnel. We're going to talk a little bit about the tunnel. What's important to remember and realize, as I know you already know, oh my God, it's Bunny Burns. I love Bunny Burns. We'll get to Bunny Burns. Is that Bunker Hill exists? Well, I should say, the development of Bunker Hill existed because of its proximity to downtown. That's why in 1901 they put Angel's Flight there and stuff like that. But also it was an impediment to progress. It was seen as, as early as 1912, they wanted to wipe Bunker Hill out so that they could spread downtown out. And of course, as we know, what became of it is it became continuously more isolated with all the tunneling that went through it. You only see the second and first, the 3rd Street Tunnel, which is the first one in 1901, and then the 2nd Street Tunnel in 1924, and the Hill Street Tunnels, which were in 1909 and 1913, respectively. And so the subway tunnel is, of course, a part of that story and the way in which they had to get through Bunker Hill, in this case at 4th and Olive. 4th and Hill, the beginning of the tunnel starts at Olive, all the way up to, the Belmont Station, and from there you go to parts west, Hollywood, or anywhere you want to go. Because I think Richard's going to talk a little about the corner of 5th and Hill and how congested it was and how impossible it was to get around 5th and Hill when it was, of course, the busiest intersection in the world at that time. We put New York to shame, but we always put New York to shame because, LA. Woohoo! Bunny Burns, Richard wanted me to talk about Bunny Burns. I don't know why, but she's awesome. Because she sent it to me this week. Because I sent it to him this week, so we just threw it in there. Bunny Burns, the most iconic and totemic image of eminent domain in Los Angeles, of course, is Maria Arciega being pulled from their house at Chavez Ravine by the jackbooted sheriff's deputies and stuff like that. I mean, the entire Courts Division. I mean, I was talking to a guy that does Latino history, and he said, the entire Brown Power movement was based from that photograph. In 1959, that really galvanized people. That was how important that photo was. The Arciegas were, of course, sort of the ground zero of eminent domain at Chavez Ravine. Bunny Burns represents the last person, the last people at Bunker Hill, because it's more of a quiet and sad rather than feisty and angry. It's a quiet and sad demise because Bunker Hill was mostly pensioners. It was as Gordon Pattison so ably put it, the urban elderly poor. And Bunny Burns was a Pentecostal in the Oral Roberts tradition, and she stayed at the Hotel Northern, which is 180 rooms, and they say, okay, by April of '69, everyone's got to be out. And they knock on her door and they're like, okay, you really got to be out. She's like, no, because God told me, as he does, this is my ministry. People are going to come to me. She'd been there since '52, and she hadn't set foot out of the hotel in 17 years, and she hadn't set foot out of her room in 5 years, since 1964, because God told her to. And so there's a lady sheriff's deputy and another sheriff's deputy there. They had 11 people descend on her finally after a 57-day siege, the siege of Bunny Burns. And she's like, I'm not coming out until, God tells me I can come out. And he ain't budging, so I'm not budging. And what a lovely, lovely room. That was room 825. She was on the top floor of the Hotel Northern. If you don't know where that is, that's at 2nd and Clay, which doesn't help because there's no more Clay Street. But basically right above the 2nd Street Tunnel.
Where did they relocate her?
And they relocated her. So if you know they relocated her to what is now the Kawada Hotel at 2nd and Hill, which was the old Hotel Astor. And she gets in there and she's like...
Yeah, the quad is still there.
And it's still there. So you can go visit Bundy Burns' room where they relocated her. So there you go. The last resident of Bunker Hill hauled off the end of 69. Well, no, June of 69.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you. That was completely tangential to everything, and that's okay.
Do you want to push it? Yep.
Okay, Gordon, come on up. Okay, we are now going to engage in the most important activity today, which is to tell you about next month's salon, right? You're already here, so we've won, right? This month's salon is already won. Next month, we will have a salon, and as we've been doing recently, the salons are talks and walks. So we come down here, we talk for about half an hour, look at some photos, and then we walk around and look at them. So Gordon Pattison, you're a dear friend. You grew up on Old Bunker Hill, and there's a photo of one of your dear friends on the screen, Harp. So I want you to tell us about Harp, and we'll just spend a couple minutes talking about the subject of your Lava Salon, which is July 30th, the last Sunday of July next month.
I don't know if today, what we're doing now is the most important thing today, because we're going to go see the subway tunnel, and I haven't been in there since the early 1950s, so I'm really excited about that. On the screen, actually, is Ollie Harp, who was my very dear friend that took care of me when I was a little kid. Some of you may have heard me before. We owned a couple of the old Victorian buildings up on Bunker Hill, one of which was the castle. It's just a great Victorian building. It had been turned into a rooming house long before we acquired it. My grandmother bought it in 1937. But Harp was our on-site manager, and I spent a lot of time with her. She took care of me when I was a little kid. She's a really dear friend. She's sitting here in this photograph with my two sisters from about that time. If you may have seen on the screen before some of the film clips, one of which was The Exiles. Well, that was done by Kent McKenzie, and Kent McKenzie was a USC cinema student who spent a lot of time on Bunker Hill in the late 50s and early 60s. Got to know the Native Americans who were living up on Bunker Hill, and he made the film The Exiles. But he also made a documentary called Bunker Hill 1956. If you want to know what Bunker Hill was like, and you want to go visit it, get that documentary. It's on the same DVD that The Exiles is on. And you'll see Harp standing in front of the castle watering the lawn. You can go visit her. Next week, or next month, we're going to go back and visit Bunker Hill, and we'll be able to walk there. Nathan said that Bunker Hill was an obstacle to the development of Los Angeles going west. Yes. So before they dug the tunnels, and before they put in the subway, they had cable cars. And the 2nd Street cable car was one of them. There was one that went over Temple Street. This was done by the same people that did the cable cars in San Francisco. So one of them ran up 2nd Street and over Bunker Hill to Crown Hill, because Bunker Hill was the first residential subdivision, you could say, the suburb of Los Angeles. But soon thereafter, they subdivided and sold lots on Crown Hill and in Angelino Heights. To get people there, they put in these cable cars. So next time, we'll visit that part of the history of Los Angeles and Bunker Hill.
And we're going to walk.
We'll walk part of the route. It went about a mile and a half over to Crown Hill. I don't think we're going to walk all the way to Crown Hill, but we'll walk up on Bunker Hill and take a look at the view and learn some of the things about that cable car and what happened to it and where it went and what the terminus of it was.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Okay, right, thank you. Okay, some shameless promotion for like 2 minutes. Okay, Kim and I give bus tours. They're a lot of fun. We've got some coming up. Pasadena Confidential. How many Jack Parson fans? Black Magician, Solid Rocket Fuel. It's an awesome tour. Okay. Black Dahlia, Kim, your real Black Dahlia tour, July 15th. It's amazing. We have some, not new information, information. I guess we have a little more information about the Hotel the new Hotel Astor, which is like my favorite rent by the hour motor hotel in downtown Los Angeles.
Honey, it's our anniversary, please. Can we go? Take me to
It's
the
our
Astor.
anniversary tonight. You want to
Go to the Astor.
for an hour? I have a Charles Bukowski tour. It's okay. I have a Charles Bukowski tour. I have a Raymond Chandler tour. They're a lot of fun. Where I met Kate and Scott. This is a tour I wrote 10 years ago. It's a great tour. It's about modern architecture in South Los Angeles. It's August 6th. It's amazing. Just do this quickly. That's the Reverend Jim Jones. We give a West Adams crime tour, talk about Jim Jones as a monkey salesman and a minister and his connection to Father Divine in Pennsylvania. And as they died in Guyana, they were singing songs they learned from Father Divine. And of course, Johnny Mercer wrote the song Accentuate the Positive for listening to a Father Divine sermon in Harlem in 1938. So just a couple more. I do a tour about immigration patterns in Boyle Heights and Monterey Park. It's totally amazing. Same paradigm, different cities, 40 years apart. Perfect. Just a couple more. And then Kim, you have the Main Street tour, which is a tour about freak shows and prostitution and B-girls and serial killers. And it's totally amazing. Okay. Good.
You're a wild man.
No, I'm not a wild man.
All
Okay. Okay, now we're good. Okay.
Okay, now we're going to get started proper. Nathan, you ready?
Hey,
You're
don't
still
we have a
gonna do that.
hashtag
You're doing
today?
it. Yes. So I need to apologize to everyone. I meant to make a slide about the hashtag to use on social media day, and I forgot. So Kim, what is the hashtag?
LAVA Sunday Salon.
Kim and I would deeply appreciate it if people are pushing images through social media to use the hashtag LAVA Sunday Salon. Thank you. Okay, Nathan, let's get started. So we're going to look at some photos of what used to be at the subway terminal. So, see, we showed you a clip. I don't know if some of you were here, but if you want to see the subway terminal in action, Susan Hayward made a film called I'll Cry Tomorrow, which is a biopic based on Lillian Ross' autobiography, memoir, I'll Cry Tomorrow. It's really good. Next one. Okay, so before the subway terminal was built, to understand why the Pacific Electric Company built this subway terminal in 1924, about 10 years earlier, everyone in downtown who's a mover and a shaker decides downtown is too small. Okay, so 102 years ago, captains of industry decided there wasn't enough room in downtown, and the Union Pacific moves its base of operations from downtown Los Angeles to what is now present-day Commerce. They're still there. Next slide. This is a photograph of the Union Pacific passenger rail line, which is still standing but is no longer in operation because the passenger terminal closed, but it's adjacent to the commercial terminal, and it's in Commerce, and it's really amazing, and that's why the subway terminal was built, because there was just too much stuff happening with rail in downtown in the eastern edge. So next one. So this is a photograph of the yard, the above ground subway yard at the terminal annex. And this is in 1921, Nathan? 1921, 1920, 1921. So before the subway terminal, the underground station, there was an above ground yard. Okay, and next slide, and Nathan, this is where you step in. This is a photograph of, so this is the corner of the yard, the photo, here.
Let's go back. Yeah, okay. So here we are along Hill Street. This is going to be the footprint of the subway terminal building. Take a look there. That's when we see a later image of the subway terminal building. I'll point out the Hotel Trenton, which is at 427 South Olive. It's right there, and then you're going to see the subway terminal falling here. So this is what they had before. It was basically a shed, and then this is. So note these little light wells on top, and the painting on the side of this building, which says like "Go to Mount Low." Okay, next slide. There it is. Saying ding, ding, ding. That's the Pacific Electric shed. This is the old Masonic Temple, which is by Bradbury and Ferris, of course, 1896. Until, of course, the Masons, including, everybody was in there, the Scottish Rite and the York Rite and everyone like that. Scottish Rite built a place at 939 South Hope, and then the Masons built a place at Pico and Figueroa. So this all becomes mostly full of, there's a funeral moment and stuff like that. So this is the Pacific Electric shed. So basically, the open shed is here. This is where we go. This is all totally unrecognizable now. There's the old telephone building. So next slide. And
So now, just keep talking. Now we're just going to start at the top and work our way down.
got it. So you would walk into the terminal. So then they built it. It's 1925. Schultze and Weaver, guys who built the Biltmore, designed the Biltmore, I should say. And you'd walk in and you'd say, "Where are the subway trains?" And there's a groovy sign there, probably in I don't know if it was neon or if it was slump glass.
Neon.
Yeah.
Neon.
Where's it now?
I'm working on that.
Okay. And so we're gonna go in there. You're gonna
So
see.
as we walk, we're going to walk in the doors, and that's what you would have
You
seen.
walk in the doors. This is what we're gonna. This is the first thing we're gonna see. You're gonna see this wonderful coffered ceiling. You're gonna see these wonderful columns. They'll see. They'll see. So I want you to burn this image. Look, there's you, and there's you. Burn this into your brain because this is what you're gonna see as you walk in. And not that, but definitely, note the way these go down here. There was signage. This is where that wonderful, oval part is that was probably some sort of restaurant. We haven't found a photo of yet. Next. Same shot? Similar shot?
Different people.
Reversed, got it. Yes. So this is looking out towards Hill Street, and here we are back, and then you would walk down XY to go down the ramps. And it was popular. This is, I've seen some notations saying that this was opening day. It's certainly not. It's probably wartime or soon thereafter. It's 40s, nice 40s shot. So, and look, back there was an Owl Drug Company. I mean, this was like a complete city inside this building. I mean, nowadays they would actually probably do that. They would make it into lofts and you would never have to leave. They actually have it in a little cremation chamber. They have a little nursery and you just be born and never leave the main building. With a dog park. I should hope so. Next. Then we're going down. And I want to also burn this exit to Hill Street into your brain because as you're walking, you're going to be walking and it's going to be about not quite eye level for me, probably eye level for all you, but it's going to be right there. You're going to be like, well, how is it that it's so close to me now when it used to be this high up in the air? And the reason is, all this is filled in, which breaks my heart. But they filled it in with tons of cement around 74? Is that around?
No, they did it in 19... We'll get to that.
Okay, we'll get to that. And all these ramps are gone. So as you go in and you see stuff like this, you're going to see all this damage along the side of these pillars, and you're going to say, why is that? It's because there were ramps up here. We'll point all that out. But when you're there, I want you to be thinking, I'm standing on this platform. I'm taking the car out to
Hollywood.
Out to Hollywood, yeah. Out to Belmont, to Hollywood, to wherever else you lived and played and worked and loved in glorious Los Angeles. Next. And so this is the control tower, and that's still there, miraculously. Can't go up in it because they've knocked all the stairs out of the stairway up to it, with the tracks that make this lovely Art Nouveau sort of decoration in this, but that's all there. But this is still extant, so we're going to see. So here's our 4 tracks. Next, from the other side. So this is what you're going to see it as you let me think. Yes. So we're going to come towards it this way. So as you go into the tunnel, turn around and take a look at it, and that says, "Look out! There's a train." Subway Terminal Tower. And this is going to be you very soon. Only about yay high up on top of the
All the tracks are gone.
All the tracks are gone. Because we could put the trains there now. We could run them all the way to the piling of the Bonaventure. Look at that. Next. So there's another one cruising over. Fly Navy. And then headed out towards Belmont. And, right, this is an early shot of them actually excavating, digging it towards Belmont Station. And these are the poor guys who never saw daylight. They had the little bird in the cage in case there was... No, it wasn't that deep. Yeah, and an early train. I'm not, but remember too that even though you're going to go down there, there's going to be water dripping and mud and rocks all over the place. You're just having this lovely, oak bench, but all these pilings are still there. Again, try and visualize these ramps. You're going to see where the ramps used to be. You see the openings up there. I'm not a big train guy, but I know there are train guys. I wish if we have one here, they can point out like, well, that's the blimp number 62, and that's the, train guys go nuts. Because I collect slides with pictures of well, I really want, the northwest corner of 7th and Main, but I'll get outbid by like $300 by some guy who's like, but that's the yellow car number 8. I can't believe it. There's no evidence of that. All right, June 19th, 1955, and where's this car going? Next. Oh, go back. Back again. No, it said if Richard hadn't put the date over it. Keep going. It's on its way to oblivion. That was its last stop. Beautiful, beautiful Oblivion. Oblivion, California. It's lovely this time of year. That's where we all end up? That's right. Strictly speaking, we are all on that train to oblivion. Some of us a little faster than others, but...
I'm going to take over now.
All right.
Okay. Good job, Nathan. I'm going to take over. The rest of the slides are mine. Let's stand on this side. Okay. So, 1950... we just missed that anniversary, right? It's like June 25th.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Where are you?
I'm right here?
Yes.
Okay. So, the subway terminal closes. They petition the California Public Utility, the PUC, to decommission the line. They grant the permission. They close the tunnel. The federal government takes the building over. It becomes a VA. It's a long, complicated story. The tunnel is closed. In 1972, foundations for the Bonaventure go through the tunnel, okay, at Flower Street. The tunnel is no longer useful at that point, okay? The Bonaventure, construction of the Bonaventure destroys the functionality of the tunnel. The opening of the other side of the tunnel, the Belmont Tunnel, is another topic, long and complicated. The tunnel comes out at First and Glendale. You should make friends with people at the condominium development there, because they all have keys to the door.
Someone does.
Okay, so go bring beer to people that live.
Someone has a key. I don't think everyone does.
Well, just give them beer, and you'll find the key, and then you'll get in. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the subway tunnel, God bless the Community Redevelopment Agency of Los Angeles. In their infinite wisdom, Gordon, in anticipation for the 1984 Olympics, the Community Redevelopment Agency of Los Angeles says, okay, we know that the tunnel doesn't work because there are giant footings for the Bonaventure in the middle of it, but that's just like the last quarter mile. We still have this perfectly good tunnel, so what? Since 4th and Figueroa is a demilitarized zone anyway of overpasses and pedestrian ramps, why don't we just open up a giant hole in the middle of 4th and Figueroa and let the buses come out there, and then we can use this tunnel. We just will miss the part that has the foundation for the Bonaventure. And so they spent all this time and money to try and make this shuttle, this bus shuttle shortcut that they were going to use for the Olympics, and it didn't work out. So at that point, they start boarding everything up. They pour in the concrete, and the tunnel as you see it. Okay, so let's go. That's right. Subway terminal day. We'll quickly wrap this up. So just to give you a sense of what we're going, this is where we're going. This is the first floor. Next, thank you. You're doing really well. Okay, coffered ceiling. It's a mess, right? One of the first things we're going to do is we're going to go visit the copy of Rodin's The Thinker. And I don't know when this sculpture went in. We'll talk about it more when we get there. We know very little. I know it was not installed when it opened. Schultze, the installation, the space as designed by Schultze and Weaver in 25 did not include the statue. It's very nice. Gives you knows. Okay, and let's just like Right. Keep going. Good. That's the tunnel. That's where we're going. Good. Good. And okay, stop. Okay. No one is allowed to fall in this hole. Okay. We have I put cones up. Okay. Do not fall in this hole.
They're not cones, they're chairs.
Oh, we put up a safety cone too.
Oh, you found one?
Yeah, I found a safety. Okay. We put up some don't fall in this hole. Okay. That's the tunnel. Are there any more? I think that's it. Okay, that's it. Okay. So we did it. So we're gonna go to the back. Okay. Okay. Leave only footprints. Take only memories. Right? Don't steal stuff. Okay? There's stuff there. Don't take it.
The thinker. Don't take the thinker.
I was more thinking about like bits of ornamental plaster from the coffered ceiling. Don't take it. They're going to use it. There's no trash cans, so I brought some trash bags if we need it.
Richard, we have a question?
Yes. No, you don't have to put your affairs in order. Okay, I'm going to put the projector away and we're going to go. Okay? If people have water, bring some water. I'm going to do a head count before we go in, and I'm going to do a head count when we leave. Okay? We need to go in with exactly the same number of people as come out. Okay? I don't want anyone...
What's the back for then?
There's no back door.
What's the back for?
Oh, that's the bag for, right. I meant like if you have an apple core you don't want to put in your pocket. I have like some, okay. All right. Go to the bathroom, get a glass of water. In about 5 to 10 minutes we'll be ready to go. I just have to break this down and we'll walk over, and I'm really excited. And thank you for your patience. And everyone come next month to Gordon's amazing talk and walk. Thank you. We'll be back. We'll see you about 5. Okay. Great.
Kim, darling,
I'm right here, my love.
are you well?
I am, thank you.
Okay, great.
Hydrated and everything.
Good. I'm just going to write down our head count. It's the most important thing I can do. Okay. All right, Kim, where is the copy of Rodin the Thinker?
On that side.
All right, everyone, please follow my lovely wife, Kim.
How are you?
I don't know where it is.
Oh, okay. All right, we are on, at this point, a very important excursion in search of architectural sculpture of very large form, and I believe we have found him here.
You can't seem to decide whether he's the thinker or the gates of hell. Wow.
He's a pretty nifty piece.
Yeah.
Is that where he always is, or
No.
has he been moved around?
So my understanding is that the earliest record I can find of him being in the building is 1979, but in 1979 he's already a familiar face. And when they decided to turn it into apartments, he became an impediment because he's very large. So they moved him, and I believe they moved him from somewhere in this floor, but I'm not sure exactly where he sat originally.
No, it was, well, I think it was more focal to the entranceway.
Well, that would make sense.
I have been unable to find descriptions of the sculpture, which I think was closer to the front entrance, or earlier than 1975. I don't think it went in 1975, but I just haven't seen anything, any documentation of it before a report that's 1975. So it's not included in the write-up of the opening. I don't know. It's pretty impressive. It was definitely on a pedestal. It was much higher. So the original pedestal, I don't know where the pedestal is. And oh, the pedestal. Oh, great, perfect. Thank you. Jason said the pedestal's here, still here. Good, perfect.
Now, the most interesting thing that I heard about the thinker was that there was briefly a thought that the best thing to do with him might be to put him on the roof and sort of enjoy him in a garden setting. Clearly, that hasn't happened. It may have to do with the fact that he weighs about 8 tons.
Yes. It's a really beautiful sculpture. It's a really beautiful bronze. And this is just one of the great mysteries. So everyone, one more time, just for my sake of only, everyone say thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Good. Okay, so we're in the subway terminal. Nathan, you walked us through those photos of a very busy subway terminal at the ticket booth. It's about where it is. This is about where the ticket booth was. So you walk in, and we're going to walk around. We're going to walk. We're going to walk that way, right? We're going to walk to the back, and we're going to go down.
Well, I want to see that rounded space too.
Yeah, we're going to do that, darling.
That's pretty neat.
We discussed all of this at breakfast, and you told me you were going to take us to the sculpture. That's why I was confused. Everything else I'm doing.
Hey, you're doing great. Breakfast was fantastic, by the way.
It wasn't it? It was really nice.
Yeah,
I
the
know.
doll was
We
a
got
nice touch.
we brought home some doll from Jay Barat and Artesia. Very good. Very good. With some quinoa and some tofu sausage. Okay, everyone follow me. So we're now, as the best Nathan, Marsak, and I can determine, we are now in the area beyond ticketing, and you'll note, well, there's no marble cladding on the columns anymore up front because they've been stripped. But, oh yeah, did we have our flashlight? I have a flashlight. Here we go. Okay, I don't want to blind you. Okay. So, if you look, you can see that the columns in the second half, the back half of this upper level, they're now clad in terracotta, right? Whereas the columns at the front were clearly, not clearly to us, but clearly from written descriptions, clad in the Tennessee marble, which makes up the floor. So they've definitely shifted and spent less money, though I really like this terracotta. And, Jason, can we, I'm going to explicitly call out the pile of plaster over there. Is that a good pile to call out? Is there a better pile? Oh, how about this one?
I mean, we have some of the different.
Yeah, over here. Yeah, come over here. Everyone, let's look at, yeah, so this is a good place. Okay, so let's just walk over here. This is nice. Right, so everyone come around. So here's just an area of the ceiling, the plaster ceiling, the copper ceiling that's been salvaged, and whoever moves into this space will have the task of hiring our good friend Frank Gallagher, who sprayed this in the Netherlands in the 60s, to put this all back in place.
Is that a condition of?
No, I'm being funny. So what is this space now, and what has this space been? Starting in the early 90s, it has been used on and off for performance art pieces. I was hoping to get some photographs of a performance art piece here in '92 that a friend attended, but she couldn't find them. Carol. But they've been doing one-off events in this space since the late mid-90s. An ideal tenant for this space, I think, would be an institution like LACMA, who could come in and really have the capital to take over the lease and sink a lot of money into restoring it architecturally, historically, and also make it a space they could use as an exhibit space of some kind, or performance space. I mean, I think using this creatively is a very good use of this space. It obviously has a very strong pull for people emotionally. People have a obviously, right? So, but I don't know. I don't work for Forest City, but they're very nice and gracious to let us in. But I think thinking about a cultural institution taking over this space as a 20-year lease or something, I think is probably what's going to end up happening. I think it's the best use of this space because they've already converted the offices to apartments. It's success, you know. Oh, right. So the name of this development is 417 Metro because the address is 417 South Hill, and this building is a classic example of adaptive reuse of commercial space. So it's built as an office. The upper floors are an office building, opens in 25, and in 94 City, I forget when, in 1999, the adaptive reuse ordinance for downtown passes, which gives you a path to take commercial space and convert it to residential. Whereas before that, Ira Yellen with the Grand Central Market Project, the CRA gave him $2 million for legal fees. He incurred like $3 million in legal fees to convert the Homer Laughlin building to residential. And the CRA gave him all this money because the CRA said, see, you did it, and it was really expensive, so now we're going to draft ordinance that the city's going to pass, so everyone else can do this cheaper, faster, and better. And so this building is a great example of that. The upstairs is residential, and so this space has been waiting for a tenant for about 20 years. Okay, so questions?
Note the marble floor.
Yes. Thank you. That was the last thing I was saying. You are standing on Tennessee marble. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And there's some marble right here. I think this might be wainscoting. This might be some wainscoting panels. So I don't know. I think Jason, are we ready to go downstairs? Yeah. Okay. So if everyone follows the direction of my hand is pointing, there's a red stairway painted red. That's it. So I'm going to go first, and we're going to be careful.
Oh, wait,
yeah.
thank you.
Great, rounded, yeah, Kim, wait, sorry, I forgot, we have to go to the rounded areas, which are really neat.
Yeah, this is just a neat architectural space over here. And obviously, whatever it was, it is not anymore. But I get the sense that this might have been a diner. It's got that sense of, you know, that could have been a lovely little round seating area in here. Oh, you know,
This was actually the roundabout ramp that went down to the lower level.
Oh, thank you.
It's completely sealed up in concrete. I can actually show you one area where you can see what it used to look
Well,
like.
thank you so much. It's much easier when someone knows. God bless you.
Okay, so what was this? This was...
These were the roundabout ramps that went all the way down to the next level.
That's fantastic.
So this floor has been filled in, but this floor was actually a ramp, a circular ramp, pedestrian ramp. The simplest, instead of a stairway, it was a ramp. So
Safer.
This was a circular stairway that went down to the next level. So where my flashlight beam is, I'm so glad I got this flashlight.
That's quite a light.
Where my flashlight beam was a stairway. It went a ramp.
Well, basically just a giant ramp.
Yeah, a ramp, right. But it just was
Where those two, where downstairs where the terracotta sort of looks like handrails that go to nowhere.
Yes, so perfect. All right, so why don't follow me and we'll go downstairs. And Nathan, when we get downstairs, maybe we can find those terracotta rails.
Yeah, oh yeah, easy peasy.
All right, so follow me. This is going very well. Happy I got my super flashlight directly downstairs.
Yeah, there's a ramp.
The ramp is right here.
There's a ramp right there. It goes down and turns, and you can see the ceiling of. All right.
But the ramp starts down here.
So the ramp
Keep that light on.
extend up.
What do you know about subways? Uh-oh. Get out of the way.
So there are three levels. The top level ticketing, there's the middle level, and this spits you out on the correct platform. Because obviously on the platform, you're not going to physically jump from platform to platform.
No?
That's not, no, you're not.
No.
That's not safe. So this level, east, well they all go westbound, but they're westbound different direct, Hollywood, Glendale. So it's on this level that they filter passengers to get onto the correct platform to go where they want to go. And
Welcome to my hall of terror.
Oh, that is terrifying. Right, mug with the tunnel, man. There you go. Very low. I like it. Perfect.
everything just was, once they figured out where we got from the union, everyone sort of left the hill because it was the clear path, because the CRA is here. The CRA is everything. So you want to carry out all the buildings? Go ahead. Go ahead. If you want to pull all the buildings here,
Blood.
go ahead.
Definitely blood. Say something in Pacific Electric.
Greetings to the glorious Pacific Electric, where we take your interurban dreams and make them realities. Why take any one of Henry Huntington's red cars to your new home in Arleta, fashionable suburb of Van
Arleta?
Nuys. Call today.
It's good because I'm going to start a chicken ranch.
Telephone number 8.
Telephone number 8. How am I going to remember that?
Which way is track 5?
Are you going to post that?
Some of it.
I got to hear that again.
He'll do it for you anytime you ask.
Transit connections that's going to be made from the subway terminal as of 1927. Okay? So, just to orient us, I know that no one goes to Pershing Square anymore, but we are basically at the edge of Pershing Square, which up until 1960 was the crossroads of Los Angeles. The world came through Pershing Square. So we're right on Pershing Square. There's within the subway, in the subway terminal, and within just a couple hundred feet, you can take the cars for Hollywood and other suburban towns like Glendale. Then there are the waiting buses just south on the corner, where the big double-deckers will load up for Wilshire, Melrose, Sunset, or Figueroa. From there also, from the terminal also, you can board the C car for Crown Hill, the D cars for Beverly and Bonnie Bray, the U cars for Vermont and Athens being the town in South Los Angeles, or West 39th Street, the 2 cars for West Adams, and a host of red cars, Vineyard, Sawtell, Venice, and the short line to Santa Monica to the south and to the south beaches. So this was Eric. This is Eric Garcetti's. Not going to say anything that he said. Eric Garcetti would kill for a transit hub like this today, right? Yeah. So right. So this was 1927. So right. So let me talk about this. Right. So we talked about this a bit in Grand Central. In 1915, there's this paradigm shift. In 1915, Harry Chandler and a lot of other people, Union Pacific and all the other rail yards, they all decided that downtown is too small. And existing railroads, which are all off of Alameda, they run from Olympic all the way up into what is now Chinatown on Alameda, they're all too small. There's too much traffic on Alameda. Right of ways on Alameda is a nightmare. It's bad enough in 1915. No one knows what that's going to look like 20 years later. So the city of Los Angeles tells Pacific Electric that their open air yard here has to become a hub. That they have to build a tunnel. They have to bring down congestion on the western edge of downtown because Bunker Hill is this giant mountain in the way of everything. And so they have to build a shortcut to get out of downtown past Crown Hill so the cars to Glendale or Hollywood can have that shortcut, and they do. And Union Pacific leaves downtown in 1915, and that's really, the city of Vernon. Oh, right, so 1915, Union Pacific leaves downtown, moves to what is now Commerce. At the time, it's unincorporated East Los Angeles County. The Vostead Act, Prohibition comes into effect at the beginning of 1920, and Vernon says we're done with saloons. It's illegal to run a saloon, and we're not going to let the racketeers move speakeasies into Prohibition, into Vernon, so we're just going to become a purely industrial city. So with this move of Union Pacific into East Los Angeles in 1915, and Vernon's decision to become a purely industrial city in 1920, build its own power plant, this is really, all this stuff is what makes Vernon and Commerce today. And this was all starting in 1915 with the decision that this terminal station had to be built in a shortcut. Did I miss anything, Nathan?
No.
Okay, good.
Well, let me give you all a sense of where you are.
Yes.
So, for example, where you are right now, right here, this is the train track. This is where the train came in.
Get off the track, Nathan.
I know, get off the track. So then you jump up here, and in between the two skinny columns, right there, you'll see this is a pedestrian ramp. And this pedestrian ramp came down, ba-bump, 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 ended right about there. And if you look right there, you'll see one of the original lights that used to illuminate you as you walked down the pedestrian ramp. Therefore, between these two skinny columns right here, we know that has to be pedestrian. Oh, look, there's another pedestrian ramp that comes down there and ends right about there. And you see the same thing right there, and it came right down there and ended right about there. So you'd be standing here and you'd see this exit sign from over there. You know which way to go and both signs. So just get you an idea. Which way is north? The four.
North?
So this is orienting that.
Which way? So Hill is that way, and the tunnel's over there. So that's
Right.
running
So our
down
next
all of it.
zone, we're not quite there yet. We still have to go into the tunnel itself, and we will. Let's just give us a couple minutes. So this is the third level. So we came in at the street level, and that's the ticketing level. And that's where you buy your tickets. It has the coffered ceiling. Then we went down, and we were in that mezzanine level with the very short ceilings. And that level spits you out to the correct track, because there are correct platform. There are 4 platforms. And so you get spit out, and as Nathan just showed you, the pedestrian ramps. And so this is all infill from, the best we can gather, the early 1980s. So once the CRA decides, our friends in the CRA don't remember the sequence, but because they wanted to redo everything, even though this wasn't going to be part, so they wanted the tunnel to be a bus ramp that wouldn't end here. So they wanted to fill in the tracks so they could do something else with it and start work on the rest of the tunnel as a busway. And all of this sort of happened at once, and then the busway fell apart, and it already filled it in. So all below us are tracks. And so Nathan, I think you showed us a photo in the basement of Grand Central, and you mentioned that things down here would look shorter.
Yes.
Right, so do you want to talk about that right now?
Yeah, let's go over this way.
Okay, perfect. So let's follow Nathan.
If I remember correctly, talking about was the one where it says exit to Hill Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which concrete is right on this column right here. And I don't know, is there a way we can call that photo up on your tablet or something like that? We don't have it, do we?
Da-da-da-da, don't trip on the thing that's on the ground. Girl.
Yeah, I'm gonna get on the floor. Aha!
Exit.
Echo the phone.
Go stand there, Nathan.
Jacob.
Somebody had
So there's a great image. I think it's on the LAPL site, the inside of here, and there's the taken from just down there, facing this way, and you can see this, and then I think this goes down about another 3 feet, and then so you're on this elevated platform, and then the tracks are here, and of course there's flood. This is the elevated platform, and the tracks are there, and the train just there. It's pretty cool.
Nathan, look at me. Great photo. Great photo. Thank you.
Nathan, before we enter the tunnel, which I know everyone wants to do, can you make sort of an invocation to the old PE and invite people on this exciting ride to Hollywood or Glendale or what have you?
Invocation, like an actual prayer?
Well, just a little bit of sugar.
Great architect of the universe, we humbly ask in your name today that you bless and protect Pacific Electric cars, its ridership, and Eli P. Clark, our immortal Lord and Master. Thank you. So moted be. Amen.
Where's Gordon? Gordon here. Gordon, go stand where Nathan was, please. Okay, so Gordon Pattison, there may be people on this tour that were in this building while it was a subway terminal. They have yet to identify themselves.
Bob?
Anyone?
No? Okay, Gordon, you win. Okay, Gordon.
I'm the last survivor.
You are the only person on this tour that was down here while it was an operating subway terminal. You grew up on Bunker Hill. Your family's houses were the last two houses for the CRA to move off of Bunker Hill. They moved them to Heritage Square, where they promptly were burned down by vagrants.
Right.
So you have a tremendous arc. So why don't you take a couple minutes and talk about that arc? Because our favorite thing to do is for you to go into these Proustian moments where you go to a place or you touch something and your entire childhood comes back to you.
not too much pressure.
Yeah, it was just he can handle it.
He's very good under pressure.
Bunker Hill was a real walkable place. Almost all your needs could be met within walking distance. Because there are a lot of services up on Bunker Hill and immediately around it. Grand Central Market, a good example of that. You go to the market, Grand Central Market, and it wasn't the kind of hipster food court that it is now. It was a market.
Right, and what you mean is there wasn't all this prepared food. You didn't go to Grand Central Market to get a sandwich per se. You went to Grand Central Market to do your grocery shopping.
Right, that was available, but you went to go grocery shopping. And if you needed to go further, we had the best interurban rapid transit system in the world in Los Angeles and surrounding areas. And this was the hub, as Richard said, this was the hub, and it was easy to walk, to Angel Flight, to board Angel's Flight, to come down here to Hill Street and to come to the subway station terminal, which is what we did. My father's aunt and uncle live in Glendale, so we would come down here and board the red car and go out through the tunnel and come out over there at by Echo Park, First Street, and what's now Glendale Avenue Boulevard, and ride out there and then come back that way. So it was very possible to get around without having to have a car. And LA made a decision to change all of that because we all like to drive around independently in our cars now. I still like that. But it was, I wish I could remember all the details of it. I know that we did this and I remember going on it, but seeing all of the neon signs and the places in here where you could buy things and so on, And I can just imagine sitting in on a bench, waiting for to buy a ticket and waiting to board. And this is kind of a neat place, neat space to be in.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Gordon.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm eating some trail mix. Why don't we take a couple of minutes and just be in this space, and then we'll go down into the tunnel in a couple of minutes. But let's just take another couple of minutes, and we'll look around, and just and I'll connect with Jason, and Jason and I will block out getting into the tunnel.
Mostly in the late 40s, we'd go out to Glendale that way. But the last time I was in here was the early 50s. I don't remember exactly when.
And they closed in the mid-50s?
Yeah. 1955 was the tunnel down. You saw that last train that
Right, to Oblivion.
went to Oblivion. Yeah, that was going out the other end of the tunnel out there. But I remember that tunnel being open in the 60s. That
Right.
tunnel exit entrance. It was open. You could see where the tracks came out and everything else by Glendale Boulevard. You can't anymore because there's a building in front of it and they've closed that end of it off. If you know where it is, you can tell.
Yeah. Right, there's a big conduit in front of it.
Yeah, right.
He was saying you could get to it and blocked off if you're a resident.
Walk off, I guess there's access to it still.
They just look like a big.
Yeah. Walkable ribbon.
All right, I think everyone is here. So I guess one of the most important things to understand is this wall of concrete masonry units in front of me that I'm gesturing to that has an exit sign in blue painter's tape on it. This wall wasn't there when this was a functioning terminal because that's where the trains were. So this is the tunnel, right? So behind me is the tunnel, and in front of me, before they boarded it up, was just the tracks. All right, and the tracks are gone. They took them up, and so behind me is the tunnel. And what I want to do is I'm going to go for. Okay, so I think everyone remembers the hole where the sump pump is that I told you no one was allowed to fall into, and I meant it. It's going to be on our left, and it is clearly demarcated by some safety cones and a lot of chairs. And I'm going to be standing in front of it, so no one goes near it. But this is it. We're going to go about as far as the light up in the distance, and that's it. That's as far as we're going to get. This tunnel extends another 400, 500 feet to the foundations of the Bonaventure at 4th and Flower, basically, and that's it. And the cities actually boarded it up right before, I forget if it's just before or just after the foundations, but the city boarded it up in the 1980s. Once they decided there wasn't going to be the busway, this wasn't really ever going to be used again, they started boarding everything up. So, what else did I want to say? I don't know. Follow me, and we'll figure it out. Don't fall in this hole in some pump. Okay. So it still looks old, but it might.
It stops at the hotel. Does it continue on the other side of the hotel?
Yes, and that's what Richard was talking about how maybe we were going to pop a hole into 4th and Figueroa, so it would go from like you know where the Bob Baker Theater is. That's where the Belmont exit is. And so they were like, oh, just run the buses from Glendale to 4th and Figueroa and the other side of Baltimore area. And they never got together. So many things.
Yeah, I call that a hole.
We figured that out.
Hole filled with water.
That hole is full of chud. Say something good. Chud are cannibalistic accumulated underground wells. You don't want to fall in.
I'd actually recommend hanging out on this side because the sump pump comes on you real quick. And here it is.
Yeah.
And necessary. We've been in here after a small earthquake and there was more water than there was before. Yeah. There we go. Right, this is the thing where one, yes.
Okay, so good no one's filling the hole. We're going to take it that way. Okay, so this is it. So we're here, and it's really good we're here because what I didn't say, as I would have done it, I would tell you, is that almost randomly, and Jason can confirm this, almost randomly, this tunnel can be filled with 2 feet of water. Not like in 5 minutes, we're not in danger. I don't say randomly like we're in danger, but, some days you wake up, Jason will tell you, you wake up and come to work and the tunnel is under 2 feet of water because there's a spring. And there's just really no way to tell when that happens. I believe it does have some correlation to rainfall, but I've talked to people where they're not convinced it's correlated to rainfall. So we're very lucky that we're not under 2 feet of water, and the tunnel is clear.
And these are stalactites forming right now.
Yeah, yes.
What? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's so silly and awesome at the same time.
Nice. Look how delicate.
Oh,
Incredible.
Thousands of years in the future, people are like,
Listen to the dripping on the way back.
you maybe want to explain this, but it seems pretty well skilled up for someone who doesn't get top from direct. You still have spray paint over there.
Well, you have a little bit of tagging, but not a lot of tagging. Right? This got boarded up. I think this wall went up in the 80s when they were putting all this energy into converting the other side of the tunnel into an existing bus ramp.
Gotcha.
And they weren't going to do that, and they weren't going to reactivate this as a terminal. And the Bonaventure had already sunk its foundations through the tunnel.
Where's the ladder go?
I have no idea. Where's Jason could probably answer that. There's so many different access points in this tunnel. I know. I don't know them, but I know that there are a lot of passageways and doors that lead to things. Yeah, I don't know where that doorway goes.
Which doorway?
Oh, no, that's not a doorway. Right. So, okay, this is a good question. So there's this indentation here, and this indentation is for workers who are in the tunnel and a train comes.
Oh, it's
So-
you stand in it.
So you stand in
there's
it.
a
So
middle
if
there, too.
if you're working on the track and a train comes, you just calmly walk into that
Take a step.
depression and press yourself firmly against the wall. Wait for the train to come up. I think they did that in Superman 2.
They did do that in Superman too. Or
Lex
one of the
Luthor.
Superman, yeah.
Ned Beatty. Yeah.
Yep, Ned Beatty did it.
I
yep.
remember that because my friend wrote that scene.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, my favorite thing that ever happened in this tunnel, aside from the time I hiked in from the other end and found evidence of a lot of cockfighting, which was really frightening, because all the dead roosters were there,
Yeah.
but they were under the mud. So as my friends and I were walking, suddenly dead roosters were being exposed by our footprints. It was really frightening, but that is not the story I want to tell you.
Another story.
No, this is a story about what happens when you get very, very drunk back in the day in the tunnel on that end. And this is about a gentleman who actually parked his car because he knew he was too drunk to drive. And so he very carefully parked his car and closed his eyes and went to sleep. And his car was in neutral. And the tunnel is a little bit on a slant. And happily, because the red cars were still running, the driver of the car, of the red car, saw this happen and said, I better slow down and call ahead. And this man, drunk as a skunk and fast asleep, ended up right where we are. And that was a big problem because how do you get it out? They had to use a crane.
How do you get it in?
I don't know. Well, he drove it in because he used to be able to drive back to the other side. And he had no idea. He woke up and he said, "Oh, I know where I am because I've been here many times when I was not in my car."
Yeah, when I was on getting on
Yeah,
the plane.
exactly right.
I want to
Yes?
add to that. So, even though there's a lot of issues with the game in general, which I won't even go into that.
Oh, is this an LA Noir
One of the fun
conversation?
things
All
you can do in LA Noire, which is a video game that came out in 2011.
You going to talk about how they threatened you, Nathan?
They can't touch me. Hear that, Team Bondi? Is he? Oh yeah. Don't get Gordon started on that. Yeah, Bunker Hill Avenue would have been like the greatest part. You can't even ride on Angel's Flight. What's the point? But anyway, but you can actually get in you can go like you're a cop and you can go badge someone and say, give me your Packard, and so you can actually drive through this tunnel. They'll be like driving down the tunnel and like a red car will go by you and you wave. You can crash into it. It's a lot of fun. I like to crash into things in Packards, but now I play the game and I don't. You know.
Do the free roll and you can just drive around the city.
Yeah. Well, you know, and if you ever see like a drain pipe, you can shimmy up it and go on roofs of places, jump from roof to roof.
I may not know what that is. I think everybody here knows.
And if they're not, they probably know what a Packard is, because if they're interested in coming down here, probably know what it is. Maybe not a DeSoto.
Give or take about. It's never varies. Correct.
So everyone, let's come on back. That's really not very stable over there. Well, then hurry up. I don't know what they did about the water bottle because water is a very thing they had. Well, that sump pump, that channel is concrete, and so don't look too carefully, but that sump pump is in a channel. Concrete channel. So I mean, they kind of have it for gathering water.
What is this?
It's a fashion show.
Get back in there. Now, let's go. That's your turn. Very good. I like the stalactites a lot.
See, so this sump pump is in a channel. So this was a channel that they built when they put in the terminal. I mean, this was their way of one of their ways of dealing with the seepage.
Because it's really cool.
What's going on?
This is the stalagmite pool.
Oh, let me see. Oh, wow.
So basically, what's dripping is cleaning away the mud, but it's also making those pools. And you know, in a cavern, you've seen huge ones.
You have a wonderful, oh my gosh, you have a good eye.
That is great. Look at all the calcification,
Yeah,
too.
those are all the pools that it's making.
Oh, my God.
This is a
Here,
cavern
David, take a
getting
picture
ready
now that
to
I've got this
happen.
light on it.
Okay.
Well, thank you for pointing that out. That's really
That is really
extraordinary.
cool.
Is this some of it? It's my.
No, that's just concrete water.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I should have been using this as a light all along. I would have got better photos.
Yeah, it's
hold it over my head as a, you know, as a flashlight.
Yes. Yes.
Aliens, mixed aliens. That's pretty.
Did my light go off? No, it's still
How quickly it formed. I mean, it's obviously been here as long as the tunnel, so 100
looks like
years,
a
let's say.
chrysanthemum. It looks like a flower in the middle. It kind of looks like a turtle. I was like, I can't touch it.
I know it's right. Yeah.
So hard. Who dares to lick it?
You can't do it.
It's what?
It'll be hard, but you should.
Why shouldn't I touch it? You saw all the purposes?
No, that was on the other side. That was on the Bob
No,
Baker
it's
side.
hard like stone.
Yeah,
It's like
when
how,
people used
you
to
know,
walk
it's like
in,
that
you
hard
know?
water that you got to get out of the wall of your shower, you know? It's hard like a stone. It's not soft. Calcified.
Yeah, this is a permanent, beautiful thing.
I love how it looks like a
Permanent is
flower.
probably a strong word for
Yeah. It's pamukale in miniature.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, sure.
I saw it.
You have a good eye.
a lot of good pictures on this story.
Yes.
Nathan, did you find any chud?
Cannibalistic, humanoid,
Okay, if
underground
I can get everyone back
dwellers.
over
I hate those guys.
If I can get everyone back over here, we're going to just all come back together and start to leave. Great. So if everyone can just come back, thank you. How was that? Was that fun? Amazing. Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Okay, let's get everyone back over here. We'll do a head count. We'll get Jason. Perfect. Excellent. Let's come back over here. Everyone exactly. Kind of regroup, do a head count, figure it out. Excellent. Now that our hearts are trying to keep control.
It's a good idea you told us about the hiking shoes. Because I don't care if this gets dirty. And I almost wear this kind of shoes.
Yeah, when I came down, I was glad I had like you wear top on, I like the bottom.
Even on these, I almost felt this. But
There's so much metal. You don't even know.
at least you got to go in. It doesn't seem like you don't want to.
great. People are so well behaved. I'm shocked and happy.
What if you had come up with more people?
And just to be stylistic, purely aesthetic, as Wolfson might put it, like from the linear to the painterly. This is going to be completely formalistic, and specifically it's going to be about Elsie DeJanis, Edith Wharton, Edmund Bach. Bach was very important. He, once upon a time, when the Ladies' Home Journal was the arbiter of taste for all America, he came out and he said, "I hate Eastlake architecture." Overnight, everyone was like, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed." And so, my question is, I'm looking into now why Bunker Hill fell out of favor. I mean, beside the fact that the rich have to make their sort of, inexorable march to the sea. Why did Bunker Hill look the way it did, and why did it change, and what did Richard Morris Hunt have to do with its change in the common consciousness of the way things look? It's going to be about, I haven't worked out the title yet, but it's going to involve somehow taste and suitability, because that's something Edith Wharton always talked about. Suitability. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be in January, and it's going to be a lot of pretty pictures, if nothing else.
And your father would be proud of you.
And as long as my father's proud of me, Baruch Hashem, my father's proud. That's why I do it.
Good. Thank you all so much. Godspeed. God bless. Thank Jason.
Now, one other thing. The gentleman behind us with a camera, we're all going to turn around and get our group photo. No, he's not going to shoot us at all. He's going to shoot us out of the building.
Scott, will you take a photo of us? Scott will send it to me, and I'll put a link on Flickr and send everyone the URL.
Okay. Should we squeeze in?
Behind me is that.
My damn hat.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. I love you.
So good. Thank you.